Last week, we had the Rsync situation, which absolutely exploded on Mastodon, Hacker News, and various other places, where Andrew Tridgell, also known online as Tridge, introduced the use of Claude, thank God it didn't crash this time, Claude into the codebase. This resulted in okay, there's actually been a lot of changes since then. This resulted in a kind of rough release with a number of regressions being discovered. Now, regressions, I should have said like this, because not all of them were regressions. Some of them were older bugs which are now just being discovered. People were like putting more eyes onto the project, trying to find issues. There were legitimately regressions introduced from code that had Claude attached to it. But also, this isn't really a new thing for Rsync. A lot of the releases are kinda rough because Rsync is a very complicated project, and even with a test suite, things can go wrong if it is not 100% comprehensive, and with a project like Rsync, doing that is nigh impossible. This resulted in a massive thread, and a lot of people were getting very, very aggressive here. Some of the posts I cannot show because there were people out there who were basically wishing for Tridge to die. There were a lot of people here who just went way off topic. Let's see this one. Picture of Venom. What's this one? Cheese fact of the day. Cheese doesn't have a clitoris until proven otherwise. This has literally nothing to do with Rsync at this point. People were just spamming here. This is the nicer stuff. It gets a lot worse than this in that 338 remaining items. Whilst it probably should have happened much earlier, ultimately the thread did get closed by one of the new maintainers on the project, SteadyTow. This issue is closed, and I'll be locking it because it is no longer used for Rsync, nor a good use of time for anyone due to the many abusive comments and spam. There are absolutely real concerns people may want to raise here. Some 3.4.3 regressions were real, some users were affected, and review quality matters for a project as widely used as Rsync. Those concerns are not being dismissed, nor have they been. However, this thread is not a constructive place to handle them. A lot of claims in the wider discussion have treated every recent bug report as if it was the same cause. That is not accurate. Some reports were regressions from recent security hardening, some were missing historical test coverage, and some were older bugs found because Rsync suddenly had more eyes on it, especially by AI that can find issues quickly. Yeah, a lot of the people complaining about AI were also using AI to find the issues. I love the internet. And some were packaging on environment-specific failures. A co-authored by line is not enough by itself to establish a root cause. On the bright side, this is a new maintainer, and there have been a number of new faces in the commit log. Didn't crash again. Wow, we're actually doing it pretty good today. I expected it to crash. So of course, we have SteadyTow, we have, the same Sam. This is from Gen2 and various other projects. We have P-Terra, Seb MTN, Shankar Wang Miao, Mike Gotokuji, User Withs, and a Marcus Mayer. Now, how many of these people are going to stick around long term? How many are just making like a drive-by commit and going to go about their life? It is really hard to say. It does seem like SteadyTow here is, at least for now, sticking around with the project a bit more long-term. I will say, okay, for all the people that complain about me, they did specifically cite me as the reason and the video I made for why they got involved with the project, so you know, I'll take the minor win. But the reason why we are here is because Tridge wrote a blog post on the matter. Rsync and outrage. I gave up blogging a long time ago. I tend to just write code and hope that people find it useful, so it feels a bit odd to be writing this, but given the volume of rage posts I've been on the receiving end of lately, I thought maybe I should post something. Like many developers of open source packages, I've been hit by a flood of security reports lately in my role as the Rsync maintainer. Many of those reports are AI generated, not all though. There are some notable ones with very careful and high quality manual analysis. Even then, as we have seen from projects like Curl, you can use these in an effective way. It's just a lot of people are not using them in an effective way. As this flood started to get more intense, I realized I need to raise the defenses on Rsync a lot. We needed more thorough test suites, code coverage analysis, CI testing on a lot more platforms, deliberate and thorough scanning for possible security issues, so I find at least some of them before other people, and the addition of a whole lot of defense-in-depth hardening techniques. This is all a huge amount of work. I'm retired. In case you forgot, Tridge has been around for a while. For some reason, everyone's just forgotten who Tridge was. Maybe it's because he's kind of just like been off doing his own thing for a bit, but like Tridge has been a Linux person, a developer for a long time. I'd rather be out sailing than working on Rsync security issues. He did come back to the project though last year, so thankfully he did. So I have reached for several AI tools to help with what needs to be done. I have absolutely no regrets about doing that, although from the storm of anti-AI rage, it's clear that many people think I should be hung up by my toenails and flogged for even considering doing this. As I said, I cannot show you some of the posts because there are people that legitimately think he should be killed for even considering the use of AI. I understand being anti-AI and all of this stuff, GPU costs, RAM costs, all that good stuff. But like, chill out a little bit. Just bring it down just a little bit. Trying to answer all of the foaming at the mouth accusations against me would take far too long, so here are just a few. Can I just say, I love the way that Tridge is handling this. He's just like, I'm retired. I don't give a shit about what any of you people are saying. If you want to be angry, hey, be angry. I don't care anymore. I'm too old to care about you. I rewrote the Rsync test suite in Python from the old shell script design. I did the design for that myself, and I'm really quite pleased with it. But use Claude for cross-checks from Codex and Gemini to do the grunt work. I did not just vibe code convert test suite to Python. I'm a software engineer with 40 years experience. Yeah, I'm old. So I did a design first and had a plan to validate it. I used AI tools to do the grunt work because they are good at that. I reviewed every part of it myself and ran through a huge amount of CI time getting it right. I'm since moved to having a bunch of local VMs do testing to reduce the CI wait time. What you see in the commit history with co-authored by Claude is the tip of the proverbial software engineering iceberg. Now, this test suite did have some issues in it. There were some tests that literally could not fail. But at the same time, you can make those mistakes by hand. AI doesn't have to make those mistakes for you. No amount of engineering experience, no amount of engineering history is going to stop someone making a mistake. As long as it's improved, ultimately it doesn't really matter. For the people saying things like, I'm a PhD from XYZ uni, and I'm telling your LLMs just stochastic tools to make everything up and the world will fall apart if you use them. In case you didn't know, he is Australian. I'm here to tell you that you are out of date. The world of software engineering has changed dramatically in the last few months. The world of IT security and maintaining software in the face of the flood of reports has completely and utterly changed just in the last few weeks. Anything you learned about this stuff last year might as well be from another planet. Oh, by the way, I also did a PhD in computer science, and yes, I actually did quite a lot of work on neural networks, and yes, all my knowledge from that time in my life is utterly out of date. Also, nobody actually knows if human intelligence is just finer-grained stochastic prediction as well. Maybe someday we'll work that out, or maybe not. Remember when I said he just doesn't care anymore? This is a line where you can immediately piss some people off. There is this idea out there that humans are special. There is something special about human intelligence and human creativity, but we don't actually know that. What we know is that we are people, and it seems like we're intelligent. It seems like we're creative. We don't actually know what intelligence is, how things actually work in our brain. We have an idea of it has something to do with the neurons and how things connect together. But if you asked us to like fully model out a human brain, we don't know how to do that. We don't know how it works. Could it be that we are just really complicated neural network LLM biological machines? I'm not going to say we're not. And neither is Tridge. Bottom line is, I do know how LLMs work, but that doesn't make them not useful. It does mean you have to be cautious, but I am being cautious, or as cautious I can be, given my desire to be sailing and not dealing with a flood of gunk from so-called internet experts. Again, he is retired, and he was the only person working on the project because nobody else wanted to help out. Hopefully now, with other people involved, things can actually, get better in that regard. He doesn't have to spend as much time on this, but he doesn't necessarily want to be here anymore. Yes, there were regressions in some use cases of Rsync in 3.4.3 release. I quite deliberately tried to err on the side of fixing security issues for that release, and there were some valid but unusual use cases that got caught up in the changes. None of those cases were covered by the existing Rsync test suite or by all the manual testing I did. Yes, I use Rsync, I don't just develop it. I am working through those regressions, and I appreciate all the people who've reported them on the GitHub repo as issues or PRs. I do read them, even if I don't respond quickly to all of them. I apologize if your use case of Rsync was hit by these regressions. If you don't mind security risk, then you can of course use an older release. Again, do note some of those older releases also had a bunch of regressions, but because AI was used in this case, therefore everything is the fault of the AI. For those saying, my god, he didn't use PyTest, does he know anything at all? I have used PyTest extensively in other projects. It isn't a good fit here. There is stuff I need to do in this test suite that would be very hard to do in PyTest, at least based on my experience with it. So I designed the right approach for the specific task. I've done that all my life. I often end up creating new approaches because the existing approach isn't quite right. I personally think this is a good thing to do. Now, he actually did comment specifically on this part. Someone asked him, what issues do you have with PyTest? Keep in mind, he's not done every possible thing with PyTest. There might be some areas where he lacks the knowledge on how to do so, but these are his issues. The parallel locking system, allowing for parallel test runs without collisions of TCP port numbers. The fleet test.py distributed system, allowing the test to be distributed in parallel across a fleet of machines of different OSs, with controls over which repo the tests come from, which binary is being tested, and what the expected result is for each OS. You expect different results on Solaris versus macOS versus Linux. The normal PyTest flow is to run a bunch of tests within the same process. Run test.py launches a new combo of daemon, client command, and server command over pipes or sockets for each test. The commands it runs are even mixed, so I do testing of a new version of Rsync against old versions within the same test. It's also the new test suite started out as a faithful translation of the old shell scripts, whereas a PyTest port would not have had that clear lineage. It is entirely possible all of these things can be done with PyTest. He just wasn't aware of how to do so, so he just wrote his own thing. Also, with it being a port, it would have looked really weird written in PyTest if you just effectively converted the shell scripts into PyTest. You're not really doing things in the PyTest way. Now to the future, because we're not done yet by a long shot. The security reports keep rolling in. I'm working on a bunch of CVEs right now. Luckily, I've been joined by some very good developers with great systems development skills and security knowledge. Some of these people came to my attention partially because of all the rage happening at the moment, so I get some rage storm clouds have silver linings. Watch out for some credits for some great new Rsync developers in the next release. I'm trying to decide at the moment between a 3.4.4 release that softens some of the regressions and going for the 3.5.0 that I had planned with much larger changes. Well, we know exactly which one he decided. We now have a 3.4.4 release. There will be a 3.5 sometime into the future. The 3.5 release will raise the bar enormously with regards to Rsync security, but it is a huge change. The large change that is needed was a big motivation for the effort on the test suite rewrite. You can't do a rapid large change to a piece of software like Rsync without a really comprehensive test suite. I thought it would be a good idea to do the core structure for the new test suite in public on master first, though given all the raids as generated, maybe that was a bad idea. Anyway, the new test suite has helped a lot, and I have a big pile of additional tests for security-related issues that you can all enjoy reading when 3.5 comes out. I'm hoping, perhaps naively, that with this push at the moment, I'll get ahead of things and the flood will turn into a trickle, then dry up. I can dream. I'm sure that if any regression whatsoever happens, people are going to come back right to this issue, right to, oh my god, Claude is being used, the world is ending. Now, if any of the people posting the rage stuff want to actually review any of the code I've published and make constructive criticisms, then that would be great. If you just want to rage some more, then I'm sure you can find some corner of the internet where you would be welcome. If you like to rage in my comment section, feel free to do so, you are more than welcome. As to all the people saying, I'm gonna package Open Rsync for platform XX, let's not platform it for XXX, and we'll use that. I find that rather amusing. If you do decide to go down that path, I'd suggest you try the new Rsync test suite on Open Rsync if you can stomach something that an AI has helped write. I tried it today, and Open Rsync currently fails 85 out of 98 tests, so I'm sure it won't take you long to get it up to speed. You run it like this here. Admittedly, a lot of the failures are just features Open Rsync doesn't have, but still, not a great result. Most of the comments on this were positive. However, you're of course going to get at least one or two that are that are still going to be angry. The fact that you use Claude Opus 4.6, 4.7, 4.8 instead of GPT 5.5 to update Rsync, which is mainly a C codebase, already tells me and a lot of others everything they need to know. You fall into Claude's sycophancy. GPT 5.5 is a far more reliable model, especially when dealing with C. Claude just makes you feel good and half finishes work. It's a sad state of affairs. At the end of the day, I wish the best for both Rsync and Tridge, and hopefully things go well into the future. Now that other people are working on the project as well, hopefully things can get ironed out, the next release is good, and we don't have a repeat of the drama again. But I have absolutely no doubt that if anything at all goes wrong, I know what is going to be blamed. And so do you. Anyway, if you liked the video, let me know your thoughts down below. Go like the video as well, go subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on the Rsync situation. Were you affected by it? Do you even use Rsync? Do you even know why you're here? I'd love to know. So, if you liked the video, go like the video, go subscribe. I said that already. These amazing people over here, Patreon, Scribe, Stelly, Barrowpay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and I definitely didn't forget my outro. Definitely not. Nope.
Like this.